Hey there, Stephanie Joy with all things Social Security and the law practice of Joy Disability. Here's a short little segment from our recent live stream Q&A that we have every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel, All Things Social Security. Enjoy, and if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments, and I will be sure to get to them. Thanks so much. Bye-bye now. Hey, how are we doing today? People are just starting to pop in. I hope everyone's doing great. Hope you had a great week. It's only Wednesday, but half the week anyway. For most people anyway. Everything is good on this end. Busy, busy, busy as always. Just trying to arrange with my family a 2-3 day trip. It's only like an hour and a half away from us, but it's called Knoebels. I don't know if any of you Pennsylvanians or maybe New Jerseyans know of Knoebels with a K. It's like a family amusement park that's been around for nearly 100 years. I don't know that it might have hit the 100 mark. And we've been going there since, hey, it's about 2015. Did you see this banana? You need a banana? It's family owned. The beauty of it is, well, if it doesn't change, I heard there was something going on with the people that own the field, but it's a big place. And there's also campgrounds and stuff like that. But it's free parking and it's fields after fields after fields. No ticket to get in. And so you only buy what you're going to do. So you buy your rides if you're going to go on rides, or you don't spend money on the rides. And maybe you don't spend anything. You're allowed to bring your own food. But they have plenty of stands for you to buy it, which we typically do because we're trying to spoil ourselves a little bit and eat a little junk food. But yeah, it's really great. So I don't think we went last year. I know one year with COVID, it was closed, and now our kids are getting bigger. But so we got a place for big enough. We did like an Airbnb, big enough for them to each bring a friend, and everyone gets their own room. So it's kind of an expensive 2 or 3 days, but that's all we got. So we're making it good. Anyhow, so I think we've got that down pat as of today. I hope you guys are having a great week. Another cool thing about it is if you can't walk, you can use these little motorized things. So there's a lot of grandparents there. I'm still doing the walking, but there's a lot of benches and I sit on them a lot, particularly if it's a really hot day. All right. So I see 333s in the house. Good to see you again, Michelle. Awesome to see you. Kubi Dreams is in the house. Good to see you, Koob. Virginia Gomez. Good to see you also. Thanks, guys. And anybody else that's watching and wants to say hello, just put it in the chat and at least we'll know you're here. Because otherwise you really don't know you're here, which is fine. That's called privacy. But I like to say hello to whoever's popping in. So we do have a question from 333. And that question is, can you explain the reasons why DDS will not request a work history report? Yes, I can think of one specific instance where they wouldn't. If you only had one job in the past 5 years and on your application you explained how many you had. So if you only had one, which is a lot of people, like they were in their last job and they've been there for a few years or more, and that would be the only job that would be in the past relevant work period. Remember, the past relevant work period went from 15 years to 5 years a couple of years ago. It was the biggest blessing for claimants. It really was. I was shocked. And I'm kind of like, you can't take that back now. We've had it for 2 years. You cannot do that. So it was just amazing. And in any event, now it's much more common to only have had one job. It used to be far less common when we had to look back 15 years. It was often more than one job. So if you had one job, when you did your application, if you recall, they asked you all the details about that job that you would find in the work history report. And if you did it online, if you say one job, they're going to give you a whole sheet to put those details in about that one job. If you said more than one job, they don't bother. They're like, we'll catch them on a work history report. Instead of you having to spend all that extra time now while you're trying to fill out your, application and get your ball rolling, instead of having to do all those extra pages. Because there's quite a few questions on each, for each job. So that would be why. And I think that would be probably the only reason why, because they need to know your work history report, except of course, if you have not worked. That would be another reason. If you have nothing in your past relevant work 5 years, they're not going to ask you for the details of your past relevant work in the work history report. So people have been out for a long time. Maybe they have a remote DLI and they're finally applying, or they have a little bit of window to apply, or it's an SSI case when there is no fear of a window closing. That would be another one. So anyway, 333, I hope that explains that. Good morning to Michelle, and again, Kubi. Kubi says, denied at reconsideration. I'm sorry, Koob. Don't give up. I don't know your situation, but if you're a young person, like your fine picture suggests, and if you're going for SSD and not SSI, I really want you to pay attention to your date last insured. You need to know it anyway. You're going to be appealing this. Don't get me wrong. You're going to go to ALJ. But aside from that, now is a good time for you to take stock of what your insured period is for SSD, if this is an SSD case, and think, if this flies south after ALJ, and that doesn't mean you can't do AC in federal district court, but you need to have your plan B, because you just have to have a plan B if plan A isn't going the way you had hoped. And if you have a plan B where you're making sure that your DLI is pushed out, if you're not bedridden and you can do something on a accommodated basis with flexible hours or short shifts and not anything that contradicts the impairments you have from the limitations you have from your medical impairments, consider looking into how you can push out the term of insurance you have for SSD, which has a DLI end date, and see how you can push that out so that you can be sure that if this flies south or sideways and you get denied by an ALJ and an appeals council, you can file again. And just a reminder to everybody, if you get denied at appeals council and you're going to look for federal district court, and maybe get someone who will file that for you, or you learn how to do it yourself. And I've seen people do it themselves successfully. Once you're denied at AC, you can file anew if you have the DLI in your favor for SSD. If it's SSI, you can always do it as long as you're financially within the parameters of being eligible. So, but just talking about SSD, there is that DLI. It is term insurance. And when you stop paying those premiums through your work taxes, Social Security tax portion of your taxes, you are going to have a DLI that's going to come up on you. So I just want to make sure. I know it's like my mantra, but I hate to see when someone who worked for so long, but then their insurance ran out because it was term insurance and they cannot get SSD. They are going to have to wait until retirement, which means a much smaller amount because they're not paying into it like it was expected they would, and or they're poor enough to get SSI. Either one of those. So just give it some thoughts, Coob. But appeal to ALJ, talk to your lawyer about, where the gaps are that you need to really focus on. And I would talk to them now because you got 2 months that you have 2 months until approximately, so you have to file, you have to have that appeal in for ALJ. That's time to start making appointments that might have been in the gap. So, don't give up. That's for sure. If you know you can't work full time, you just got to think outside the box and get that proof. If you're a younger person under 50, it's a very high burden. It's a high burden for everybody, but you don't have some of those carve outs from the grid rules. So, Virginia, thank you so much. I hope God does bless me. That's what I strive for. So that would be good. Kevin Johnson's in the house from Morristown, Tennessee. Hi, Kevin. Nina's in the house. Nina says, Virginia, and my doggy's name is Chica. Oh, because she called me Chica? Right, because Virginia had said, good morning, Chica. And now I should say, how do you say good afternoon? I forget. Something tarde? Or is that just late? I don't know. But back at you. Yeah, I used to know a dog named Chico, Nina. It was my neighbor's dog when I was growing up. It was so cute. RD Dolphin is in the house. Hey there. All right, guys, do we have questions? Or are we all just saying hi? Come on, put them up there. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. I'm trying to think what else is going on. I did a video. It had been asked for by someone who watches the channel, and they had posted it numerous times in the comments below various videos, and I kept saving them so I wouldn't lose it because I wanted to do a video on it. It was about obesity and the 19-2P, the Social Security ruling about that. So I'm doing it the other day, and when it came out, which it didn't get published, there were periodic sections where my voice becomes really high and screechy, like an even older lady than I am. It was crazy. It was just definitely something with the tech. And I was wondering what it was because I wasn't in this room. In fact, I wasn't almost going to be in this room today because it's a little warm and I wanted to go out in the air conditioning. I have the fan on, But anyway, so it's got to be coming up, guys. It might be a multi-parter because it's from my notes. I think it took 30 minutes or 35 minutes. I don't know. I have to redo the whole thing because I'm not sending it out with that weird stuff that happened in my phone. And it's just lucky that I caught it, I just happened, we're listening to it, trying to figure out where's a good divide point. So anyway, that'll be coming out. I don't know if that person is here, but obesity affects so many of us and it is definitely relevant. So I really suggest anyone who's not trim to give it a thought because it can be used if you address it. It's not going to be normally
the one and only thing, but it affects a lot of your impairments. So if you have other impairments like knees, ankles, and stuff like that, anyway, we explain a lot of those details in there and how to go about that. That's the plan anyway, if I can ever get back to it. I plan to do that hopefully before the week is out. I'm hoping. Nina says, Buenas tardes. See, I was right? When I say tarde, but I just think, but when I say tarde, isn't that like late, being late? But I thought it also was afternoon. I took 4 years of Spanish, believe it or not, about 40 years ago. And then I did go to South America, and I was in Venezuela in the 90s. In fact, my father passed away in Venezuela. That was a nightmare. That was in the 2000s. But I loved using my broken Spanish and getting around. People were really cool, you know. Virginia says, I have an appointment with a CE this Friday. They gave me only 2 weeks. Yeah, sometimes they give really short notice of the CE. It's because they try to get them in as soon as they can with having some notice for sure. And it's really the doctor's office that they use that kind of defines when there might be an opening. William S. is in the house. Hi, William. Happy Wednesday to you too. My favorite day of the week, excluding the day my husband comes home. That's truly my favorite day of the week. But this is my favorite work-related day of the week. Okay, Danny's in the house. Hi, Danny. Hey, SOJ, I just got back from wrist therapy. Boy, they want you to say you're better so bad. I wonder if you all have that experience. But I said, no, I'm still weak. They're saying, but you're okay. I say the truth. Nope, still weak wrist. You know, it's funny. It's almost like the medical profession. We've talked about this with mental health therapies, with some enterprises who their people have to say that the person is doing better and better, even just to keep them going for the next 10 years. Because if they don't say improvement, and this is not all, guys, I'm not accusing every entity of doing this, and certainly not every provider, but I do know for sure it happens because I've spoken to providers about it. Some of probably the Medicaid accepting ones, if the way it was explained to me, and I'm going to probably butcher this, but it was something to the effect of, if we don't show or say that it's working, we will lose our job. I guess because the enterprise has to show that they're producing what they're trained to do. The problem I have with it is, and I get it, you want to have proof of performance before, particularly when it's coming out of Medicaid funds or Medicare funds, whatever, but definitely the Medicaid, because you don't want slouchers in there making a fee, a treatment fee for doing squat, right? Or if they're incompetent, they just shouldn't be there. But how people that have severe mental illness, and I don't know if any of you guys can, do it this way, sometimes the therapy is what keeps you from slipping back. So it's keeping you at a baseline where you had been far worse at one time, and now this is like, getting that talk therapy and that with the medications possibly or whatever, that is the thing that is saving your life potentially. So that was the case with this most recent person I had been speaking to, provider. He did almost get fired for explaining things on paper, which I was like, don't even put it in his file. Just give it to us and it'll go to the SSA and your people don't even have to know about it. You know what I mean? Probably sticking to the rules of his, employer. He did. And then he almost got fired for speaking it. He didn't speak what they're forced to do. He just spoke the truth about the patient. And that was a problem because guessing like, the entity, and if anyone knows anyone who's owns a mental health clinic or works there, it'd be interesting to hear that take. I just wish they would understand that you can prove that you are doing a good job without the person necessarily becoming Superman or Superwoman in their mentality and their mental health. Sometimes you're saving their life by this continuous treatment because without it, they would be down the tubes. So I don't know. And I'm wondering if PT, I don't know. I wouldn't think it's the same way because I have seen so many physical therapists that they will say we did not meet goal, and they'll talk about slight improvement, and so there is improvement, but didn't meet goal, still has weakness here, and usually they say could use some more physical therapy. But you know how insurance companies limit that? They're like X amount of sessions or whatever. So I don't know. I haven't really seen them say the person's better, but unless the person tells them that, then they quote them. Danny, I think it's good that you speak your realities so that if they're trying to corral you out the door, because we made our money off of him, and now, it makes you wonder too. So let's say someone's on Medicaid. Do they have a certain amount of visits? And by then they're like, what? they're going to make, I don't know the medical make, but what if it's something like this? They get paid X amount for X sessions. The person is not better and can be discharged by the end of that, say 12th session or whatever. Do they get paid less for 13 through, and maybe like, no, I'd rather have this slot filled in by a newbie who I can get the full rate for. I'm completely pulling that out of my yang because I don't know if that has any basis in reality. I'm just wondering though. Anybody know? Anybody? All right. Thanks guys. Have a great one. Be safe.